Oh. Wait. I'll come in. I'll come in. Hello. Welcome once again to Math Made Easy. Today, we are looking at a classical case involving another aspect of mathematics for senior high school. Senior high school SHS. Right. Today, we are looking at Surds. And basically, what we need to understand about sets is sets are usually an expression involving roots. Okay, when we say roots, we are talking about square roots, cube roots, and so on and so forth. At our level, we will not be going to the quadruples and then the rest. But at this level, we are going to basically look at the square root, the cube root, and then we'll look at how we are going to apply them. There are some things that we should note, and I have tried to list a few of them. Today's class will bring out the golden rules that governs sets for you to understand and apply sets very well in class. You need to understand the rules that govern this particular game called sets. I call it a game because it is very interesting if you understand how it is applied. So the first thing I said or I wrote is that sets are basically expression involving roots, as I have stated earlier. This can be in the case of a square root or a cube, etc. It can go on depending on the situation at hand. All right, we can have a classical case as in this. The square root of 9 can be written as 3 or -3. So when we have a square root of 9 like this expression can be written as a -3 or a +3. But in this case, in this particular context, we are making the emphasis is on 3, and that is where we are placing more emphasis. We are looking at the +3 and not the -1. So let's look at some examples of the basic sets that we can encounter. We have in this case the cube root of -8, and I stated here that every number has exactly one cube root. So if the number can be expressed in cube, then the result we can get is just one number. So the cube root of -8 is simply -2. We cannot have +2. No, it is not possible. All right, so that is what I have stated here. These are things that you should know and understand going into solving sets. All right, so the cube root of 27 is exactly 3. There is no way you can get two numbers for this particular question. All right, and then for the case of 64, the cube root of 64 is 4, and you can't get two numbers for this. All right, it is also very important for you to understand that the golden rules will guide you to solve every situation that is given to you, or every question that is given to you. It doesn't matter how difficult you will see it, just apply the golden rules. And what are the golden rules? I have tried to summarize the golden rules into 10 basic golden rules that you need to know and then apply. All right, the first golden rule states that if you have a square root of a variable, let's say a, and this is squaring itself, all right, so the square root of a squared, the resultant answer is a. So just put it at the back of your head. Anytime you have the square root of a variable squaring itself, the answer is that particular variable, a. All right. The second one also says that the square root of a variable, let's say a, also squaring itself, the same result is obtained, a. So the first and the second, you should please take note of them. All right, don't confuse yourself. If it is squaring each other, the resultant force or the resultant answer is a. All right, then the third golden rule states that the square root of a variable a times the square root of another variable b, it will give us the square root of a times b. All right, so the square root of a times the square root of b will give us the square root of a times b. All right, so just like that. Is that okay? So a can be any number at all, and then b can also be any number. In case you are given something like that, you should be able to apply it. I must draw your attention to the fact that this particular class is giving us the golden rules to Surds. In our next lesson, we will look at the various examples under each golden rule. We will look at examples under each golden rule. So we take the first golden rule and then we will solve some questions on it. So I want you to subscribe and then keep watching, because this episode will bring to light a lot of things that you do not really understand about this particular subject. All right, so let's continue. When you are given this situation, the square root of a divided by the square root of b, simply write it as the square root of a over b. All right, express it like this. Okay, we will solve more examples so you get to know when and how to apply. Don't forget to subscribe, and then don't forget to always follow us. All right, the fifth golden rule says that the square root of a times the square root of b can be written as the square root of a times the square root of b, meaning that you can break the expression. All right, each of them carrying the square root, it is accepted and you can apply it in that manner. All right, so we go to the sixth golden rule. The sixth golden rule says that the square root of a over the square root of b, okay, all of them inclusive here, as you can see. Okay, so let me write it well. Okay, so a over b all in the square root can be written as the square root of a over the square root of b. Okay, so this is also the sixth golden rule. Please take note of it. We are going to apply it, and then we are going to use it to solve a lot of questions. All right, so let's move to the seventh golden rule, which states that b over the square root of a can be expressed as, or we can find a solution to this one by simply multiplying the denominator, or if I can say that, the bottom part with the upper and then the lower. Okay, so b over the square root of a, we can write it as b over this times this one here, and then the same one, the same expression here. Okay, so the square root of a over the square root of b. Why are we doing this? We want to find a solution to this so that we can use this one, we can rewrite this expression in another form. So when we get it like this, or when we write it like this, very simple for us to understand. The square root of a times the square root of another a, according to the first golden rule here, the square root of a squared is equal to a. So applying this one, we can get this as our answer. Okay, so we can also say we have neutralized it. All right, we have cancelled the square root. Okay, so by applying the first rule, which says the square root of a all squared is equal to a. So the square root of a, the square root of a multiplying itself will give us a. So this expression can be b over the square root of a all over a. How did we get a? By applying the first rule. And what is the first rule stating? The first rule is stating that the square root of a times the square root of another a, which is squaring, the answer should be a. Okay, we will look at a deeper question. We will look at a lot of questions and a lot of examples under this, so that you will be able to apply and then get it better. All right, then we come to this place which says that a, the square root of c plus or minus, the plus or minus here is telling us that the expression can be plus in one case and in another minus, depending on what your teacher is asking from you. If your teacher puts a minus here, it is accepted. If you put a plus here, it is also accepted. So don't get frightened. All right, so plus or minus is nothing to worry too much about. This can be written as a plus b. And since this square root has the same variable and this has the same number, if I can say number or variable, then we will pick one of them and then attach it to this. So the positive, and then this one with our sign, and then we write it like that. Very simple. You pick this one, you pick that one, and since this and that are the same, you just write one of them. All right, so this is the 8th golden rule. I want you to play around it. Try and see whether you can remember one or two. Let's get the understanding from here. If there is any question, there is anything you don't understand about the golden rules, just at the comment section, just type your comment over there, and then I will attend to you. All right, don't forget that we'll be solving more examples in our next section, so don't be frightened. It is going to be very easy, and it's going to be very, 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 very easy. All right, so let's move on. Whenever you are given an expression like this, or whenever you are solving a set problem and you meet an expression like this, don't be frightened, don't be shaken, don't say I can't do it, don't say I am stuck, don't say I don't have any idea about it. The first thing you have to do, just pick this denominator, if I can say that, pick this number and use it to multiply both the upper one and then the lower one. So how will I do it? So you write your number, and then a plus b, the square root, and all right, multiply it by just changing the plus to what? Minus. So you say a minus b, the square root of n, all over a minus b, the square root of n. Good. So if you are able to write it in this expression, that is the first step. That is what the golden rule is talking about. So if you get this written, then you are on your way to getting the answer right. All right. Now, let's look at the 10th golden rule. The 10th golden rule says that C, the same way, the only thing is the sign. So this time it is negative. And if it is negative, what we will use to multiply will be positive. So C over A minus B, the square root of n, okay, we will multiply by A plus B, the square root of n, all over A plus B, the square root of n. All right. So if you are able to write this, then I am sure you are on your way to getting it right. This is the golden rules, and we are going to apply them in solving situations. All right. Let's look at an example. We have, let's say 20. Okay, the square root of 20. All right. Yes, the square root of 20. We are asked to write this in, we are asked to express this in a set form. The first thing you need to understand is that you have to find numbers that are going to help us get this expression. So I will expand first. I'm looking for numbers that can give me a square. So I have 4 times 5. 4 times 5. All right. Let's call this one example 1. 4 times 5. All right. So we can write this one as the square root of 4 times the square root of 5. We can find the square root of this, can we? Yeah, we can. 2, 2, 4. So we have 2 the square root of 5. This is one of them. Okay, this is one of them. It is so easy, it is so simple. I know you will get them right. Join us again in our next section. It is going to be a lot of fun understanding the topic says. My name is still Prof. RSK. I am your host.